welcome, welcome to the NFA podcast. We're your hosts, Nish and Frackers. NFA stands for not financial advice, but also Niche Frackers and anyone else listening. In case you're new here, every week we talk about the news, we talk about crypto updates and stock updates and traditional finance and the overarching tech industry updates and everything that you need to know to make informed decisions or at least learn a little bit and wet your feet into
What a
the pool.
pretense. Everything you need to know to take informed decisions. I think that's high. That's high.
But not
high
financial
praise.
advice.
Not financial advice, but everything you need. High praise. So is there any news? Any news this week? Just, we're shooting this on Friday, April 4th, before Wall Street opens. Crypto, of course, never closed. It's been open forever. Anything that you noticed that happened this week that was, noticeable, remarkable?
You mean other than everything collapsing and falling and everyone selling off their house?
It's the thumbnail. The thumbnail look. Yeah, it's really. The funny part is, a few weeks ago we said to each other, "Wow, there's a lot going on this week. Can you imagine? Whoa, what's going to happen?" And then every week since, it's been getting crazier and crazier. Remember the first week after Trump came? We said, "Well, this is weird."
When we started the podcast, I really thought that it would be calm, like it would get calmer, because we had like the Trump, Trump entered office and all these changes started happening and everyone was super bullish on crypto. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be great, and since then it's just been like a downward spiral.
Yeah, and then all the markets too. I really thought also, probably naive, but I really thought it would be good for the stock market. And because I maybe foolishly assumed he was going to use the tariffs as a negotiation and then basically force countries to comply. And now he's actually enforced the tariffs and waiting for countries to comply. And it's not working out so far, I think, as everyone had hoped on both sides of the aisle.
It's definitely a scare. It's definitely a scare to everyone involved, to all the countries, and everyone's anticipating it. I don't know if you saw, but Vietnam has now like a 60 or 80% tariff because they're not correcting old tariffs. They're adding on top of old tariffs.
Yeah.
These numbers are insane.
That will show those Vietnamese. And how about the penguins? Did you hear about the penguins on McDonald Island? No. Have you heard that? There's an island called McDonald Island, apparently, which I didn't know about, near Antarctica, near the South Pole. Only penguins live there. They have been hit with a 60% tariff, those poor penguins. No humans live there, but they got the tariff anyway. And it looks, by the looks of those kind of things, it was a little bit arbitrary.
Maybe.
I don't know what the penguins did.
Maybe it's a message to say there's no going around this. Even if you end up on Penguin Island, I'm still going to tariff you.
Yes. And no one gets around these, even the penguins, the most lovable creatures.
Yes, exactly.
Poor little bastards. So the thing really struck me was the strong reaction from the markets, because I sort of naively, again, believed it was priced in already, that tariffs might come. Well, turned out it was not priced in. Holy smoke. Did you see the front page of the Wall Street Journal this morning? And the whole front page is just basically
stocks suffer biggest one-day wipeout in value since March 2020.
Yeah,
and also COVID was announced.
And there was this little asterisk below it. It said only been measuring since 2001. It's like, well, that's 25 years. This is, I think, a sizable sample.
There's so much to unpack this week, which I'm really excited about, because I feel like over the last few weeks, it's been great, but the content has just been a bit stagnated when it comes to, the depth of the issue that we're facing here. And I feel like every week we're unwrapping different layers of this Trump problem that's coming in.
Of this onion, but it keeps smelling like an onion. So what is it that you have? Let's start with you, ladies first, and then I'll have this little analysis of the crypto versus the tech stocks, how both were impacted.
For sure. Well, I actually have a question for you. So, a couple of weeks ago, I think it was like 3 weeks ago, we spoke about NFTs, right? And how we feel about their future outlook. So I wanted to know, how do you feel about the future outlook of NFTs right now?
So NFTs in the sense of collectibles, I don't think they have a great future, but I could be wrong. I liked them more when it started. I really thought it was an interesting asset class. sort of a mix of art and photography. And so I thought it was something interesting happening that really hasn't come out. I'm not talking about the value. I'm talking actually about the creative side of things. The thing with NFTs that I like, again, the Tracer project where you and I are both advisors, uses NFTs in a different way. It uses them as sort of a license to issue carbon credits and to sell carbon credits. And so NFTs have this great functionality that you can use within smart contracts that are technically more interesting than they are artistically. That makes any sense. So the functionality of an NFT, I think, is very interesting, has a huge future. I'm not sure about the artistic and commercial viability of NFTs.
Okay, so that's exactly how I feel, right? And I think we
easy for you to say after I gave this great answer, and then you just go, "Yeah, what he said."
Same.
That's what I same. I said that in high school in math. When I would get a class, would go, "Yes, Mr. Snell, what Edith just said." That I feel, and he goes, "That was a different question." I thought, "Oh, that doesn't work with math," but okay.
So no. I definitely feel like the collectible era is no longer gonna be the mainstream adoption of NFTs as it has been for a really long time. However, I feel like they're going to come in, through other means like memberships, title deeds, storage of information that really is non-fungible, that's really personal, or, is yours or is individual to a certain person. Did you see that X2Y2 is shutting down?
No, I didn't.
Yes.
What's going on?
So let me get to it. So X2Y2 was like the third largest NFT marketplace. Like there were obviously OpenSea had first mover advantage, but there was Magic Eden and X2Y2 were in a very close second. And X2Y2 basically said they're going to stop trading on April 20th, and they're going to move to AI.
Meaning AI? How do you move an NFT marketplace to AI?
No idea. They're looking at an AI-driven crypto project aimed at sustainable utility-based value generation. To me personally, it just sounds like a bunch of fluff. It just sounds like words.
That sounds like a sentence they've generated with AI.
Right? And I don't think that I don't think they know what they're gonna do with it, because it says that the speculative phase that focused on collectibles and trading is over, but NFTs are now entering their next generation era as core infrastructure enabling massive opportunities in gaming, AI, fan engagement, and content authentication.
I'm pretending I was really paying attention, but I sort of drifted off there at the end. I noticed at my age you start nodding at this time of day. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of buzzwords thrown into a blender.
It does.
It doesn't sound real.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So maybe they don't know.
And for me, it's interesting because I think they're just riding the wave of the AI buzzword, because they're still doing NFTs. So by saying that they're going to stop their NFT marketplace, I think they're just doing it for some form of engagement.
But that's an interesting development, because I remember OpenSea was the big one. What was the second one? Wasn't Magic Eden? There was another one that I thought was a big player in that space. Sort of forgot. I never got into that space.
There was also the ordinals, right? Ordinals were really big.
Yeah, that was for a while. I don't know what happened to those. They still around?
They are. When Ordinals Wallet came out, I was airdropped 3 NFTs, and I sold one of them for I think it was 0.1 Bitcoin at the time, which was like 13,000. So it wasn't.
Someone has sent you something for free that you were able to sell for $13,000.
Oh man, I know, and I wish I sold all of them, because I cannot seem to get rid of the other 2.
No, but who is that person that sent it to you? And then I think Annie should go and get him.
I got new shoes.
Why does that never happen to me? I always get these crap tokens just airdropped to a wallet that I have somewhere. I never have something valuable.
Sometimes it just works. Like, for example, Pudgy, since we're on the conversation of NFTs, right? So Pudgy Penguins launched their token, and everyone got airdropped like a decent chunk. For me personally, I have never owned a Pudgy. I don't engage with the community. I'm just not interested. But I was still airdropped like $100 of Pudgy.
I don't get, it's a marketing strategy that's really interesting. The only thing I can compare it to is growing up in the 80s in Amsterdam. That's how they used to distribute heroin. The first shot is free, then you're addicted, and then you start, the pusher is selling you more. And that's what they always told us at school, like, don't ever take any drugs, because once you take one, and we realized, and then later we found out in marketing when I did my MBA, that it was called the Gillette strategy, the official phrase, where you give away the blade and you make money on the razors. The heroin comparison does a lot better, I think, in crypto.
Yeah, 100%.
It's the airdrop. The airdropped heroin. It's awesome. Straight to the vein.
But the thing
Straight to
is,
your wallet.
to me personally, those airdrops, they don't work. I sold it. I did. I sold it. I sold it immediately. Not because I don't see potential in the project, but because I'd much rather put that money into Solana or Sui, especially with this market. You know,
especially now that you see Solana and Sui today, have you noticed?
You know what? I was on vacation over the last week and I just didn't look. And then I checked yesterday and I was like,
yeah, but it happened yesterday. It didn't happen before. I mean, yesterday was the big slide. Anyway, on with the news.
Okay.
Because we're live, so we have to engage the fans quicker.
Yes, of course. So CZ from Binance was invited to advise Kyrgyzstan on blockchain technology.
Yeah, I had to let that one sink in, I must say. You sent me that before. I think the guy's brilliant. So I've said that before. I wrote 3 years ago on the blog that clearly they were in trouble at Binance because they had to keep evading countries because they were not doing clear.
Yeah, I remember it. And you had said this to me. They were like, they just keep jumping around everywhere.
Yeah. And it's a shame. And I said, and then people take out that segment. So I said, yes, they don't do proper KYC AML. Reuters did a great article about them, very thorough journalism. And it was clear they don't do a thorough KYC AML at that time, Binance.
Yeah.
But I thought, what is a shame of it that people still see the other side, which is how quick they innovate. Like I've never seen a company innovate that fast. Where they built stuff themselves with BNB Coin and with launchpads and anything that others were doing, they were looking at it and then figuring out their own strategy. So you could tell they were very good strategically, but also good operationally in how you get these things off the ground, these projects. So I think it's a great manager and great visionary.
Really interesting because BNB chain is now making a bit of a comeback. I have spoken to a couple of companies that are now migrating to BNB. So yeah, maybe we can get into this as one of my tokens, but I feel like there's something to look out for there.
Yeah, I think they will be very, very strong because the product clearly has a global appeal. I still think the interface is horrible, but that's my Dutch side. My Asian side thinks the trading fees are very interesting. My Dutch side is saying, you could work on the interface. So I'm conflicted there, regionally conflicted.
BNB chain aside, BNB chain itself as a blockchain infrastructure layer has phenomenal potential. They've done such a great job. They support all of their ecosystem projects. You just have to reach out, which really isn't hard, and people don't understand how easy it is to get in touch with BNB. Even, in terms of the projects that are coming out, they're barely paying any gas fees. They already have such a large community. It's such an easy shift. There's no new wallet set up. There's no complicated technology. Everyone owns a bit of BNB because it was a main thing in 2020.
And what is CC going to do for Kyrgyzstan as an advisor? Advise them on what? A central digital bank currency or something like that?
No, blockchain adoption. And he signed an MOU with the country's foreign investment agency.
Okay. I would love to have him as an advisor for Tracer. And,
it would be so nice.
Yeah, because he really has a great overview of the full global market, and he has great operational advice, I think. So there's very rare to have somebody strategically and operationally be that relevant, I must say. So,
and CZ put up a tweet on April 3rd, so yesterday, and he goes, I officially and unofficially advise a few governments on their crypto regulatory frameworks and blockchain solutions for government efficiency, expanding blockchain to more than just trading.
Well, it's a smart move, I think. I wish the EU would, he paid his fine and he paid his dues. The guy went to prison for a few months. I mean, I don't think it should rule him out for the rest of his life for having made a mistake. So I think I think he'd be very valuable for any project, and for a country, I think it's very smart.
I think he should. I think it would be a great idea for the U.S. to bring him on as an advisor, but after the whole jail term, I don't know if that's going to happen. It's a missed opportunity.
There's, I think right now there's a U.S. administration that looks differently upon who gets punished by whom. So
This
it
is
could
true.
always change. You saw which countries did not get any tariff? Russia and Belarus.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Tax the
Yes.
penguins,
So
but not the Russians.
not the Russians or Belarus, the last European dictatorship. So yeah, it's an amazing thing. Any other news that you had? Because this was good news, but I mean,
Yes,
interesting news.
and it's the last one. So CLS Global is a market maker, and again, this is something that we frequently talk about on the show: is the chaotic world that is somehow legal of crypto market making. So this CLS Global was fined almost $500,000 to because of wash trading in the U.S. There's been a lot of news on market makers ever since that those 13 market makers got fined by the SEC, right? And so basically the firm has pleaded guilty to market manipulation and wire fraud charges after a sting operation led by the FBI. So they basically admitted that they were manipulating crypto trading volumes to attract investors.
Yeah, I think it's market making is weird. I do think, for example, CoreWeave went public. We talked about it a few weeks ago. The interesting thing is when a company goes public traditionally, the traditional method by selling stocks on Wall Street, let's say, or the Nasdaq or whatever exchange, there's always a bank or several banks usually now for larger IPOs that take you public, and then they actually promise to prop the price up for the first days or weeks, but the general public doesn't know how long that deal is going. But the insiders know, meaning the company itself, plus the people that buy during the roadshow pre-IPO, those institutional investors. So there's not equal access to information. And that is legal somehow. And I don't understand how that can be legal. So let's say on the first day, right, when the stock doesn't pop enough, the banks start buying extra that brought the company public to prop up the
They
price.
do market making.
It's market making.
It
And I don't
is.
understand how that can be legal. And then in other areas, it's considered illegal. So I don't understand what is the difference
It's
between wash
such a
trading and that.
strange. It's such a strange world, right? Because I find a lot
Yeah.
of things that are scrutinized about the Web3 industry are happening in traditional finance, but aren't spoken about. And so the people that are used to making money off of these wash trading deals in traditional finance don't like the fact that crypto is open about it.
On to my news, unless you have more news that you want to share with
That's
with
it
me.
on my end.
I looked up how much the big tech stocks called the BATMMAAN stocks. Horrible, huh? But it's it's Broadcom, Apple, Tesla, Meta, Microsoft. What's the other A's? There's two A's. Well, I guess there's Amazon. Oh yeah, the Google thing is called Alphabet, the official title for Google. So and the N is for Nvidia. So what happened to those stocks since this year? I know that everybody looked at the stocks. What happened yesterday? There was a huge meltdown, and we all know that. I think the longer term outlook is more important, and long term in this case, in this market, is this year. What happened in the last 3 months? But it was also shocking. So the biggest fall this year is Tesla, minus 34% of those, but also Broadcom, minus 34%. And no one ever talks about Broadcom. You just hear Tesla, Tesla, Tesla. But Broadcom is a $1 trillion company. All these companies are $1 trillion plus. And Broadcom's chip maker, and they went up really high last year, because people thought of the AI hype. They're like a sort of Nvidia-like company, people thought. And the whole thing just completely fell apart. And the focus is completely on Tesla because of Musk getting so much attention. Getting so much attention. Nvidia went down 24%. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the one that went down the least is Meta, only 9% down. The last quarter was really good of Meta, really good results, selling our advertising, not selling our souls to advertisers. That's the business model. And Microsoft also only down 11%, but I thought Tesla and Broadcom both down 34% is shocking. And Amazon and Apple also are both down 19%. So, yeah, it is a very, very serious. And then I thought, let me compare that to crypto. How did it happen in crypto? What's going on there? So the big tech stocks went down on average they went down 21%. They're down 21% for the year, the first 3 months. However, crypto minus 27. And the worst ones, let me see. The bronze goes to Ethereum, 46% down since January 1st. Silver, well, actually equal. They're both silver or both gold. Depends how you want to see it. Dogecoin and Cardano minus 48. And I was focusing so much on Ethereum that I actually missed that Dogecoin and Cardano went down more. And we spoke about this. Cardano had this huge bump. Remember when Trump announced the digital reserve and then mentioned Cardano?
I think
Gone.
also Charles Hoskinson, the lovely, lovely guy. Like honestly, so nice when you meet him in person. Love the way he thinks, love the way he talks. Like really is a visionary. But I think he just went a bit rogue on social media and had his Kanye moment. I don't think that was very helpful.
You think that really hurt, those kind of things? I don't know.
I think so. I think it definitely hurt because even people like me that are okay with Cardano are still a bit like, ugh. You know, because when you see that the founder has cracks, like the founders always need to have their shit together. You know, that's just the way that they need. They need to face the
Well, everybody, of course, is flawed. You just don't want to know the flaws.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to see that picture perfect founder that has their life together. That's why everyone's always, you know, the founder.
So what happened? What did he say? What did he share? Pictures of little children, or what happened? I missed that completely.
He just started posting some really personal stuff and like started posting like videos of him like skiing, like just random things. And we're like, you have not engaged with the community like this ever. You know, and then all of a sudden it's like Kanye took over his account for a little bit.
The average loss of the big crypto projects is minus 27. So they're down 27% since the start of the year. So in big tech, it was 21%. So crypto lost more than big tech. And the losses are also greater. Like the ones that really lost, the outliers, minus 48 for Dogecoin and Cardano and minus 46 for Ethereum is horrible. And then, you know what's really shocking to me? XRP, only down 2% for the year. XRP. And probably because of the SEC lawsuit that appears to be off the, not happening anymore. It's amazing, eh? If we would have bought XRP, we've only lost 2%. Bitcoin, by the way, then for the fans, minus 11 for the year. Not that bad.
It's really not that bad.
So, and here it goes to come back to something you recommended a few weeks ago, although we don't do recommendations and don't give financial advice. To her credit, Nish, the gray-haired lady, said that at a question we had from a viewer, what to do if you have sold Bitcoin for altcoins around October, November, thinking it would be altcoin season, which didn't happen, and then lost 70% of the value in those altcoins, probably down more now. What would you do? And Anisha and I both agreed, the gray-haired lady and the gray-haired man, we would probably roll the altcoins into Bitcoin because we're expecting it would pick up quicker and in the long run be the more stable investment if you want to make your losses back, the higher chance of earning your losses back. Okay, so what's the outlook for next week? What do we think is going to happen? Who cares what we think would happen? But I'm thinking more like what's going on? Like you go first with crypto and I'll try and figure out something for tech stocks.
This one's tough. I really don't know what to expect next week. Tariffs, the news is going to settle. I think, over the next few weeks, we're just going to settle into this new normal. And hopefully that's the end of the terror when it comes with that. But knowing and seeing the way that this year has gone so far, I cannot say that it will be that smooth.
So in crypto, right? That's for crypto.
Yeah, that's for crypto.
Yeah, and it could still go lower. Eh? We could still drop. I still see too many articles by analysts, serious analysts, saying that it could go to 70. And then, going for 80 to 70
I've read that
hertz.
as well, that there's a lot of resistance at 72.
But I keep reading it. Yeah, but it's never gone even close anymore. So I keep maybe thinking for a moment that will never happen. And when it goes up, don't forget it was 87 already a few days ago. And I was thinking, I should have gotten in at 82. What am I doing? I already lost it. But then, of course, yesterday went back. So it's really difficult. So dollar cost averaging, I would agree with you, is probably the best way to do it. Slowly get your way back in. Yeah. But if you're not right now active in crypto, and then maybe start with Bitcoin. And I would look at a few of the altcoins. I still can't get myself to buy the top 25 because I don't think I know, but I think there's too many projects in there that have had their moment. Yeah. That are still in the top 25. So I will pick the ones that I think may still peak.
I think what's going to be really interesting over the next couple months or even the next year is going to see how Solana navigates this market, because they have so much potential and a really strong foundation. And it would just be a complete shame for them to just miss out and fizzle out.
Remember when it was Bitcoin all-time high? There was some news about it when it was 110,
A
but it
little
wasn't as
bit,
big a
but it's
news.
not the
Not
same.
much, not the same as when it went down 25% from the all-time high. That was much bigger news. Bitcoin goes down again, and this whole glee from journalists about when other people lose money, I just sort of miss it. But I guess that's why I'm not a journalist. I just don't have that. One thing, did you see Elon Musk's interview on Fox or snippets from it? That he was
No, I
almost
didn't.
crying that people were celebrating the fact that his stock went down. And that was weird for me to see on both ends. So I agree with him. It was weird that people seem to take this joy that Tesla's stock price is going down, because Tesla stock owners hurt from it, not just him. And at the same time, I'm thinking, come on, man, get your act together, put your big boy pants on, and don't whine
Be
about
that
what other people
founder
think
that
of you.
doesn't have any cracks. But with Elon as well, we're starting to see a lot of cracks with him. So it does correlate to the price of his stock. I think it's just, it's all very relevant.
The damn thing is that, and I've seen this a lot in tech, having been in tech for so long, the greatest companies usually have very strong visionary leaders that are very different in their thinking, which is why their companies do great, because they think different from everyone else. The downside of it is because they're so different thinking, they're almost by definition antisocial. So they really lack empathy to a point that you're thinking, are these people psycho? So there's a fine line between being genius and being complete asshole. And, you see them straddle this line, and not with great success
But a
many
lot of
times.
founders are autistic or even narcissistic, and they carry those traits of lacking empathy, not understanding social constructs, but they're gifted. They're gifted with an ability to think a certain way.
But I do always say also, not every person that's an asshole definitely is gifted. It's not like in the movie Rain Man that really sort of made it like, well, every person that's sort of strange, out of the ordinary, is brilliant at poker. No, some people are just assholes.
Yeah. I think that's one of
So
the traits that founders in Web3 are lacking, is that they lack a little bit of empathy and social construct. A lot of the founders have been developers, and these devs just sit in their basement coding, and I remember
in their
they would come
basement.
to they would literally while I was working at agency, they would be like, we need agency because we just sit in the basement and code. Like, we're not marketers, we're not public, and it makes sense and you see it. But that's why the companies that do have that presence make it so far. CZ was a great image for Binance.
Yeah, but
He
he's so articulate. That's why I'm really a fan. I'm really a fan of his, because I think he's very articulate, and when he says things, you never think, well, that's nonsense. He really thought about it.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, with the tech founders, like the big tech founders, they're not very different from each other. It's a trend that you will see across the field. I'm trying not to say too much. I've just experienced it firsthand. Not with me personally, but I've seen a really big founder
do that.
Just do it. Yeah, and knowing that his wife and kids are there, and it's just so gross.
Yeah, and I think it's still the worst part when they know that it's inappropriate. You still do it, and then I just think that's one level more.
You do it in public like you're untouchable. It just doesn't make any sense.
Oh, that behavior. Oh, yeah, that's the worst one. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So our outlook for next week, we don't have any outlook. We're just going to follow and analyze, but we don't really have a prediction, I'm afraid. Eh? You guys
next week, because then we'll recap what we learned.
Well, you did say something. You said it's going to bottom out, and you think this is not the worst.
I think
here's my prediction. Okay, here's mine. I think today is going to be worse. There's going to be a hit another day when Wall Street opens in a few hours. The futures look bad. It looked like it will get hit a little bit hard, but then things will stabilize and slowly get up. I do think that this is a low point that we're going to hit today, April 4th.
Same.
That's my prediction. No. Well, thanks. If you like this video, like, comment, or subscribe. Send in your questions. We're not getting enough questions. I'm getting nice feedback, but not questions. I'd love people to give either their tips their advice, recommendations, or questions or comments. Anything is welcome that's interactive. So you can
I get
do
some
that
good
in the next
questions
one.
in person. So I'll note those down. And
Yeah. There's number one question I still get is which token? Still number one. And
always.
question number two, which stock? Still. And it
My
doesn't change.
my favorite is when they send you a list and it's forwarded many times. And it's like, should I get into these?
Should I get in? Or which one of these? Which one of these? Which is even worse. Like never one. Never buy one. Never. Okay, yeah. Like, comment, or subscribe. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy this chaotic, turbulent market. We hope you make it alive. See you on the other side.
Same.